Hello, everyone, and welcome to Leadership Evolution. My name is Jim, and in today's video, I want to share with you what I believe to be one of your most effective competitive advantages that you'll use as you develop and grow yourself and your career. In my experience, many people that I coach have the mindset of, I've got to learn everything that I can when I'm young so that I can defend what I know for the rest of my life. In other words, I've got to constantly prove to everybody around me that I have what it takes, which really means I've got to constantly prove to myself that I have what it takes. And that mindset is very limiting and very damaging because in order to compete, you've got to know more than everybody else around you, and you've got to be able to argue it well. Your career and your leadership is capped by what's already in your head and by your ability to defend it. You have to be smart and have the ability to communicate your smartness so that everybody around you knows that you're smart. There is no room for not having the answer because that conveys weakness. In meetings and in conversations, you'll say things like, "Oh, I already knew that. Oh, I tried that before. I know that. I already thought of that." And that's a sign that you want to be seen as being right. You want people to think that you are an expert, and you're afraid to be seen as incompetent. And you spend more time learning how to defend what you already know than you do increasing what you know. I coach people like this all the time, and let me tell you, they're stuck. Their growth and their development is stunted. Their careers are going nowhere. They experience uncommon amounts of conflict because they always have to be right. Their rigidity is brought about by toxic fear. And that fear is, I don't have what it takes. I don't think I have what it takes. So they're out to prove to everybody just how wrong they are. If you can let go of wanting to be seen as being right and as an expert, and if you're willing to wonder and be surprised by what it is that you don't know, then your leadership and your growth and your career will have unlimited potential. In meetings and in conversations, you'll replace defensive language with, "Oh, really? Hey, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that." And you can develop your competitive advantage by being willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. And that is finding significance by being willing to discover what you don't know that you don't know. You don't have to be the one with all the answers. You don't have to be an expert, but you know that you're going into your expertise. And you can compete by being the rare leader who loves to learn things that you hadn't previously considered. And if you do this, your leadership and your career potential is only limited by your own curiosity. So what does that look like? How can we do this? How can we develop this competitive advantage? There are two ways. Number one, wonder. WONDER. Wonder at everything. As I've already alluded to, there's what you know. There's what you know that you don't know. But there's also what you don't know that you don't know. And it's in that arena that competitive leaders find their adventure. So develop wonderment in your life. Wonderment is not trying to figure something out. Wonderment is a willingness to explore and be surprised by the unknown. Are you filled with wonder? Do you love to grow by being surprised at what life gives to you? You can develop wonder for yourself by practicing wonder questions. In your next meeting or your conversation, use some of these questions to develop wonderment in your life. I wonder how what we learn today will affect future projects that we develop. I wonder if we can understand how changes to our website will affect traffic and sales. I wonder what outrageous customer service looks like. I wonder how I can accomplish what matters in less time. I wonder what will come today that will allow for me to experience a breakthrough in my life. Curiosity, wonderment, and a thirst to learn are the gateways that open up a life that is growing and developing and getting better all the time. And that is your competitive advantage. The second way to develop this competitive advantage is to really value feedback. Start to think of feedback as a mirror that shows you things that you weren't previously aware of. If you're a leader who values growing and getting better and developing, then feedback can be one of your most treasured experiences. Now, you get feedback from a variety of sources, and I want to mention two here today. You get feedback, of course, from people. Pay attention to their questions. For example, you're giving a presentation to some colleagues about a feature that your team developed for your company's website. Somebody raises their hand and they ask you, how are the changes in these features on the website going to affect incoming traffic from existing users who aren't used to using that feature? And how will that affect sales? And you think to yourself, wow, I hadn't thought about that. Now, you can either get really defensive and blunder your way through the question because you have to be seen as the expert, or you can just go ahead and fess up and say, you know what, I hadn't thought about that. That is a really good question. Let me get back to you. That colleague brought up something that you hadn't thought of. It never entered your mind. You didn't know what you didn't know. And that's a great way to learn. That's a great way to get better at something. So pay attention to their questions. People are giving you feedback all the time, so pay attention to their complaints. For example, you're running a meeting at your work and you notice that someone at the table isn't paying attention. They've got their laptop open, they're obviously working on some things while you're talking and not paying attention to anything that you're talking about. You can ask yourself some questions about that. What does that say about the content of my meetings? What does that say about my preparation? What does that say about my communication style? How can I get better from this? I wonder. You see how wonderment and feedback coincide to make you a better person? People are giving you feedback all the time. Another thing you can pay attention to is their praise. Just like complaints, praise offers an insight into your soul. There's something true about you that wants to emerge, that wants to make itself known. Identify that. Pay attention to it. That's feedback. That's a great way for you to learn, to develop, to know what your strengths are, and to live into those strengths. Now, I want to point out a second way that we can receive feedback, and that is by results. Right now, you are the perfect result of decisions that you made in your past. Everything that you did in your past resulted in your weight, your fitness, your education, your job, your mindset, your relationships. Whatever results that you're experiencing on a regular basis will give you feedback on the decisions and on the actions that you took prior to today. Do you want accurate feedback? Do you want to develop a competitive advantage among your peers? Pay attention to your results and don't make excuses for them and don't try to explain them away and don't rationalize for why you are where you are. Let the cold, hard truth of results tell you how you're doing in your life. And then you can ask yourself some wonder questions about those results. I wonder how I'm creating this situation for myself. I wonder how my behavior has led to this point. I wonder what beliefs about myself led me to where I am today. Now, sometimes feedback surprises you. And when feedback surprises you, your mindset will determine the outcome. If you are embarrassed and you want to be right, then you're going to do whatever it takes to defend yourself and to make yourself look good in this situation. And because you want to be validated for being right, you'll do whatever it takes to justify and explain why you did what you did. And as a result, you'll become closed and your growth will be stunted. And you just handed your competitive advantage to someone else. If, however, you have a growth mindset and you're eager to discover what you don't know that you don't know, you will use that wonderment to fuel your growth and your expertise as a leader. So your competitive advantage is your ability to grow and get better every day. This is called a high learning state. So I hope that you'll commit to learning over being right. I hope that even though you're going to become defensive at times, we all do, that when you notice it, you'll shift over to curiosity. I hope that you'll decide to use everything in life as a learning opportunity. Decide to value learning above all else. When you discover that there's something that you didn't know, it can be an attack on your confidence and therefore avoided or defended against, or it can be a joy that fuels your learning and your growth. And that is your competitive advantage. As always, thank you for watching Leadership Evolution. I hope that you'll take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments or questions about anything that we talked about today, please leave them in the section below so that I can get back to you and we can have this dialogue about what it means to be a better leader. As always, keep evolving, and I'll see you in the next video.